Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and today we have a little bit of interesting news on kind of what's going on, and it's actually from the Smith and Wesson here, from a company that manufactures guns and all of that great stuff, and they have some things to say about the U.S. lawmakers and everything that's going on, and there's also a lot of things that's been going on recently that we'll also be doing a report on. So don't worry, a lot of great news still coming. Mostly on one extra video, but we'll see. However, the company strikes back, and it goes on to say Smith & Wesson fires back at U.S. lawmakers. A firearm manufacturer, Smith & Wesson brands, incorporated rebuff attacks from lawmakers who have been taking aim at the industry after dramatic increases in crime have swept across the United States, which it has. I think most of the crime, though, is located in these liberal democratic cities, places like L.A., San Francisco, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, a lot of the New York, especially. A lot of these places where crime is very, very heavy, and or even in Chicago for that matter. And a lot of this has to deal with, the policies that they're putting in place in the George Soros backed DAs, and this is kind of like a huge deal here in that sense. So that being said, I'm not really too surprised that crime has swept pretty massively across the United States. And notice how crime increased when Joe Biden came into office. Remember that, fellas. A number of politicians and their blobbling partners in the media have recently sought to disparage Smith and Wesson. Mark Smith, Smith and Wesson CEO, said in a press release. Some had the audacity to suggest that after they have vilified and undermined and defunded law enforcement for years, supported some prosecutors who refused to hold criminals accountable for their actions, overseen the decay of our country's mental health infrastructure, and generally promoted a culture of lawlessness, Smith & Wesson and other firearm manufacturers are somehow responsible for the crime wave that has predictably resulted from these destructive policies. I agree. And a lot of people that are on that side will say, it's not the policies. Listen. If you continue to vote for the people that are putting in these policies, then it's the reason why that all this is happening. And quite honestly, it's quite annoying. The fact that you guys are constantly putting in these policies and destroying lives. This is part of the reason why I would like to go to a more rural area, because the rural area of everything is significantly better. Normally because I hate living in cities in general, and I think cities are going to become, honestly, pretty slightly more violent, if not more violent, especially in liberal cities, democratic ones, because of the policies that are put in place into these cities, and that's the main issue that we have here. We'll see whether or not when it comes midterms on how bad it gets. Now, I think we're going to have two jumps in potential political crime or just crime in general, which would be obviously the midterm elections, because you know how violent things have been getting recently. And then we're going to have, again, probably the biggest crime wave, or the biggest thing that would end up happening would be until 2024 elections, when we select the new president, which we all know most likely and probably 100% won't be Joe Biden. Because there's no way he can carry on to a second term, let alone any of the other candidates that they have. So there's that's been going on. However, we also have things that are maybe looking up. We'll see. Smith added but they are the ones to blame for the surge in violence and lawlessness, and they seek to avoid any responsibility for the crisis of violence they have created by attempting to shift the blame to Smith & Wesson, other firearm manufacturers, and law-abiding gun owners. Smith & Wesson is one of the several gun manufacturers that came under fresh scrutiny from lawmakers. In July, the U.S. House Oversight Committee began hearings into the sale and marketing of AR-15-style rifles following highly publicized mass shootings in Uvalde, Texas, and Buffalo, New York. The House panel summoned Smith, along with the heads of Sturm, Ruger & Co., and Daniel Defense to testify and encourage into their business and marketing practices. Smith declined to appear for the hearing. Some diplomats sought to take the CEOs to task, using their opening remarks to blame gun manufacturers for a surge in violent crime. The gun industry has flooded our neighborhoods, our schools, even our churches and synagogues, and gotten rich doing it, Committee Chairwoman Caroline Maloney said in her opening statement. Congresswoman Wesson told attendees, "We shouldn't be surprised when young men purchase these weapons to be more like soldiers, and we shouldn't be surprised when they try to act like them too." Okay, again, when I know this is them quoting people, so I guess it's not really this site saying what they're quoting, but the reply to you exactly. Again, we're not really addressing men's health because it's mostly men going out and doing these horrific acts. And notice how it's mostly white men that are doing this. Let's put this in perspective. Black people can't really do no wrong, and black people are innocent. And we're seeing this time and time again across the policies that they've been making. Of course, in Minneapolis, we just seen to where they decided to ban just fire white people first, or white teachers first, rather than the black teachers, and being equal. So they're automatically breaking the 14th Amendment as we know it. So they should honestly be in deep trouble by the federal government because they're doing a very racial hate crime. But oh no, it's okay because it's happening to white people and not black people. Hence, the double standards. So we have that that's been going on, and when we're going back to actual men's health and then this type of thing that's been going that I want to direct to, we don't talk about men's health. We have a whole bunch of these these female structures and defense wars and stuff like that, where we all help women, but there's very, very, very little that help men. And then, of course, according to what one of my family members has said once before, oh, men have friends. Men can just go and talk to friends and deal with their problems. But women, they need these shelters because they'll go after them. Oh, and you think the women don't go after the men? Let's see. I'm pretty sure there's been numerous cases where women have gone after men in some type of regard, and same thing with men. Men also need these shelters to help them. By the way, these shelters are not just for the protection of women. They are also there for psychological damage and any type of other type of stuff to help them mentally. And that's another thing that men have. Again, we're not really focusing on the actual aspect. So it's okay to help women's mental health issues and their problems, but when it comes to men and they need their help, oh, let's not help them exactly. So there we go. That's just a true reality of what society is being like. Oh, forget the men, help the women, and we're seeing this. And as we're going to see as obviously a rise in white hate crime or white racism, because that's what's happening in today's society, we're probably going to see more white men act up and be attacking stuff because of the issues. Let's talk about the single mothers as well, because that's also a huge problem to where men are being more brought up into violence, because the statistics show that this is true. And let's also talk about where white men are mostly doing this, not where black men are not doing this either. But again, the attack on men is relentless. It's been relentless for years, and we're not going. And nobody wants to talk about this because men are these evil people. Women are not these evil people. I mean, we don't have the hashtag defend all men or believe all men. We have a hashtag that says believe all women. I mean, it's obvious of what's going on here. So it's not like they're being dressed like soldiers. We're not addressing the mental health. We're not helping these men. We're not helping these people. And again, as they have stated, the weight in violent crime is up because of the Democratic policies, because of the things that they're being soft on crime, because of all this other stuff, because we go after this female emotion, which is, again, what I would say, emotion, and want to feel and have these feelings for these people when we don't need to put feelings into place. Emotion destroys majority of things. We do not need to go basing off of emotion, and this is the reason why this is the whole problem we have. So, they go on to say, however, in his company's formal response to the onslaught of attacks against the firearm industry, Smith cited the failures of U.S. policymakers as the cause of escalating crime in American cities. It is no surprise that the cities, Smith said, it is no surprise that the cities suffering most from violent crime are the very same cities that have promoted irresponsible soft on crime policies that have often treated criminals as victims and victims as criminals. Many of these same cities also maintain the strictest gun laws in the nation, but rather than confront the failure of their policies, certain politicians have sought more laws restricting the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens, while simultaneously continuing to undermine our institutions of law and order, and to suppress the truth. Some now seek to prohibit firearm manufacturers and supporters of the Second Amendment from advertising products in a manner designed to remind law-abiding citizens that they have a constitutional right to bear arms in defense of themselves and their families. The U.S. House of Representatives recently voted on legislation banning semi-automatic firearms. The bill passed largely on party lines, but expected to stall in the 50-50 Senate, where 60 votes are needed to overcome a filibuster. So, they're not wrong. A lot of this is going on, and I can't help. It's like, again, they're correct. It's just, this is just the reality of the reality of what's been going on, and people need to realize this. It's the policies that you put in that causes these issues. And the reason why people need to get out of cities as fast as possible, because I don't think they're safe at all, period. Homelessness is on the rise, especially in California, and all the other crazy stuff that's been going on. So we need to be able to realize what's going on and the issues. It's not any of the gun manufacturers' fault. It is the policies that our federal government is doing, and then also our local government is doing. They're the ones that are doing this. This is the reason why the crime is up. So, I digress. Let's see what happens, because I think Florida's doing a good job on fighting back crime, and see how low the crime rate gets. Alright guys, that's it for the video. Like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.